So what you're seeing now is that a lot of politicians and artists on Twitter say, "Oh no, there's no such thing as cancel culture. It's just consequences." But that's like saying there isn't an icy lake. The water in this big hole is just frozen because of the cold. And it makes sense why they would do that, because they are using this as a self-preservation technique. Because if you think that there's no such thing as an icy lake, then anyone that falls through is just kind of disappearing into nothingness. And it's way easier when you don't have to explain exactly why that is. Like, you don't have to explain why you are right and they are wrong. Morals aren't objective, and they change over time in different cultures and in different ways. For example, gays and women and darker skin toned people didn't have the same right they have today 70 years ago. And that doesn't mean that was wrong and we're right. It just means that times have changed. I bet there are quote-unquote marginalized groups right now that people ridicule that might become normalized in years to come. To name a few examples, things like trans people, pedophiles, or obese people. Do I agree with them? No, I don't. But if that's where we're headed, there is little I can do about it unless I held a tremendous amount of power over laws and rules. And even then, there is the question of whether or not I want to start that kind of war, or whether that would make the damage far surpass that of me accepting those horrid socialist groups. Sometimes cancelling or protesting something just doesn't work. It just enhances the problem instead. I think eventually we all, once or twice in our lives, fall between the cracks of the icy lakes. But pretending they aren't there and getting too comfortable just increases your risk of falling in. And I think that's the trap that a lot of these politicians and artists are falling for it now, is that they think they are invincible, but you've seen the same thing happen to Jimmy Fallon, about him blackfacing in like the 19-somethings or whatever. I'm not sure if that's the year, but that those things occur. And the reason those things occur is because of that cancel culture. It's because of those delusions that there are no icy lakes. There are icy lakes. And being aware of that, being aware that they are there, means you're going to be more aware of your actions, but it's also going to mean that you're going to be more kind to people who make these mistakes or have made these actions and choices in the past that right now, today, might not flow that well. But nobody complained back then. Nobody did. And even if they did, the majority didn't care. The power is with the majority, and that's just something that people need to learn to accept, because, I have a lot of questionable morals, according to some people, in the majority. But just because they think differently than me doesn't mean they're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and they're wrong. It doesn't mean they have a different opinion either, because I don't believe in opinion. I believe in facts. But what it does mean is that one of us doesn't have the facts, and for me to just attack them out of nowhere and try to cancel them isn't going to teach them the facts that I'm trying to give them. And canceling me isn't going to help me figure out what the truth is either. So unless they can give a solid argument, or I can give a solid argument, we're going to all fall down into those cracks eventually. And that's the problem I have with saying there's no cancel culture.